Hello and welcome to the Pokemon TCG San Antonio Regional Championships. We've got Swiss round 5 in day 1 for you on this broadcast. James Watcher playing Mew VMAX versus Isaiah Bradner and Lost Tina. I'm excited to see this matchup. Isaiah Bradner, someone that I've had on the Metapod podcast, Pokemon podcast that revolves around the Pokemon TCG meta. Feel free to check that out, look that up if you would like to on YouTube and all other podcast listening platforms. But enough of the self-promotion, getting back into the game and the official live stream. This is a rebroadcast of the official live stream. I do not own this content. I just want to talk about Pokemon and do some TCG commentary. So as the games are setting up, I feel like Giratina, Lost Tina, has a decent matchup against Mew VMAX, specifically if this is not the Meloetta version, the Fusion Strike version of the Mew VMAX package, with the Giratina being able to just hit really, really great numbers with the Star Requiem knocking out one Mew VMAX, and then another Mew VMAX can go down with a Cramorant, Lost Impacts, stuff like that. And even though Mew VMAX has I can't remember what the attack name is off the top of my head, where if the Pokemon is allowed to go back into the deck after the attack to reset damage, right? If you've been Cramorant pinged or Sableye pinged, and you don't want a Tina to just basically one hit KO you with a Lost Impact play for 280 damage, you can just cycle yourself back into your deck. But bossing up Genesect will be very strong, and prices don't look too bad on either side. The Giratina Lost Box list going with Pokegears. We know that the second place finisher of the championships, Grant Hayes, played one Pokegear. If you want to see that list again, go check out the Metapod TCG channel for that information. We show off that deck list and many others as well. So interesting to see Isaiah Bradner play more than one already, we know, in here. I do like Pokegear as an inclusion, as Colress Experiment is a very, very instrumental part of your game plan. So we'll see how this best of 3 goes in this. I might just try to skip ahead until they start. I don't know who's going first, and here we go. Looks like it's Isaiah Bradner going first. Obviously, you want to put down a Comfy, and definitely against Mew VMAX, especially when you don't know the Mew VMAX variant, whether it's just the regular double turbo or Fusion Strike Mew. You definitely don't want to leave the Giratina in the active. So promoting that Comfy is good not only to defend against an attack, but also just defending against, being able to flower selecting in general. And so I'm going to be looking for another Pokemon off of this Nest Ball. I would assume maybe a Comfey. Looking at his hand, he does have an energy to retreat, or use on a concealed cards with Greninja. So he might also grab Greninja if he wanted to. Let's see, continuing to look at prizes as he does. He only has one Giratina VSTAR. It looks like, I don't know if he actually has one in the hand, but if he does only have one Giratina VSTAR, I can't remember exactly where his other Giratina VSTAR was prized, if it was in the top or the bottom, because, well, the players in this match have to go from bottom to top, if you do not know, on the stream matches. And so he's going to opt for a Comfey, just going to try to build up his Lost Zone, get to 2 in the Lost Zone with a second flower selecting to try and next turn either hit the magic number 4 or 7, whichever he decides is best for his setup in this game. So, going to be writing down his prizes. You are able to take a clean sheet of notes, for anyone who does not know, to write down game notes. Every round, you can have a fresh sheet of paper with no other prior information on it to write whatever you like, whether it's prizes or different tech cards that you see from your opponent. things of that nature can be very beneficial, especially after prize tracking. So he's just going to pass. Got 2 Comfeys on turn 1 and 2 Flower Selectings. That's pretty good, I would say, in this. And so James Washer going to Nest Ball. He's got a pretty decent hand, I feel like, right now. He's got some things that he could probably utilize to draw a little bit. I saw some Cramomatics in there, and I don't remember if I saw a Battle VIP pass. I saw a reddish card, which could mean a couple different things, but most of them are item cards, if that's what it means. Opting for the Mew V instead of a Genesect, so it looks like he is playing a Fusion Strike version, but I don't. Did I see a Meloetta at all in there? I don't know if I saw a Meloetta at all in there. So he might be doing a thing where he's only playing the Mew and the Genesect. So really good news for Isaiah. I think this is very, very good for your game plan. Do have that double turbo that you can attach right there. You've got Cramomatic and an Ultra Ball. So you've got 2 Cramomatics and 2 different items. So being able to do that is very good. I think using Lost Vacuum is fine because I don't really know if you're going to be playing Path to the Peak too much in here, but probably going to be grabbing a Battle VIP pass off of this just to be able to quickly get some Pokemon down and get your Fusion Strike systems going with Mew VMAX. So going to be opting for a split of Genesect and Mew. I think that's totally fine, especially when you know that Mew VMAX can absolutely pop, or I'm sorry, that Lost Box can absolutely pop off and maybe even catch you by surprise in the second turn of the game. So you want to have a Mew VMAX ready and available. And so now having a third Genesect, choosing to, instead of the coin flip, use the Ultra Ball to grab that Genesect. So just got 1 card in hand, surprisingly leaving it for the Path to the Peak. I think I maybe would have liked to see Alyssa's Sparkle. You never know if your opponent is going to play something like the Spiritomb. But as we draw in, they've got a couple cards that they can play. Box of Disaster, attach it to a Pokemon, probably. Oh, looks like they're attaching it to the active Genesect. The active Genesect is interesting. They do know that they only have Mew V to attack, so they're probably okay with leaving this Genesect in the active to get hit. So very, very interesting play. They've got a 3-3 split of Mew and Genesect going in here, and with a deck like this in this matchup, I don't hate that because you definitely want a Mew V on the bench at all times. So having 3 is just the easiest way to be able to use that Psychic Leap attack that I was talking about earlier to continuously cycle your Mew VMAXs and prevent them from getting KO'd. Running your Lost Tina deck out of energies, or just, starving them off eventually with lots of different other methods. Another box of disasters, but also a Forest Seal Stone. A lot of ways to ditch stuff going on in this hand right now, but coming up, a Judge is a really, really good card to play. Very, very nice. So we did see that Isaiah Brander did have another whatchamacallit, Tina VSTAR in the hand. So he's got 3-2 line of Giratina V and VSTAR in the deck and a 3-3 overall. So he should be good for this game, I would think, in terms of the different game plans that he could go through as he's taking his prizes. But James Washer got 1 more Genesect left, so we'll see how it goes. This Comfey is going to stay in the active and is going to stay alive for another Flower Selecting, so we'll see how this goes. It gets a pretty decent hand, I feel like. Yeah, you can only draw 2 cards off of this, but I think your cards are pretty decent overall. So it's got a Path to the Peak and also a Potown store. I would actually love to see this path to the peak here, because you know that you have a counter stadium in hand. Whoa, those advertisements just went away real quick. But opts to not play the counter stadium. I'm not 100% sure why, because I feel like your hand is relatively safe for the most part. Um, so like you could just counter yourself out of it and really just defy the Greninja for a turn. So we'll see exactly how it goes. I'm sure James has played this matchup more than I have, as both Lost Tina and Mew VMAX are very, very common and have been around the format for a little bit. But Isaiah with his new hand, starting off with a fresh Nest Ball, not wanting to see a Pokemon off the flower selecting, and rather see something like Greninja, or I'm sorry, Greninja is a Pokemon. Colress Experiment, he plays down a Giratina V, getting 2 Giratina Vs up and ready, just in case probably one does not get, like if he can't attack with Giratina VSTAR this turn to knock out the Genesect V, there is a likelihood, because of Mew VMAX's aggression, that one of the Giratina Vs is going to get bossed up and KO'd. So in my opinion, not a bad moment for the young man, and going to be using concealed cards right here. And again, this is why I would have, another reason I would have played Path to the Peak, because that's 2 less cards that they see from a 4-card hand. But going to be opting to put away the Jet Energy off of the first flower selecting. Jet Energy, a really, really good card, but I think the other card he had in the flower selecting was Colress Experiment, so you take that 10 out of 10 times, I feel like. Or, well, 9 out of 10 times. He's got another Comfey, I think also a Giratina VSTAR that was in that Colress Experiment. You do like Giratina VSTAR, because you know you're somewhat limited on them. Also, I think a Nest Ball, a Path to the Peak himself, so I don't know what that first card was he put down there, though. So we'll maybe try to see exactly what it is. But the Isaiah looking to grab Path to the Peak as well. Maybe even play Path to the Peak at the end of this turn. So Isaiah going to be going to 5 in the loss zone now, just 2 away from being able to Mirage Gate. Going to Jet Energy into the active and go ahead and use Flower Selecting. I think there's another Jet Energy in this Flower Selecting, so seeing a lot of Jet Energies right now, if that is the case. He's going to be putting away a Psychic Energy instead, so I don't think that was the one that I was saying. I don't think Jet Energy was it. Everything's a Jet Energy if you really think about it. Putting Colress in there now, having 7 in that third and final flower selecting, but I don't even know if you play Mirage Gate at this point unless you can attack. Mostly because you don't want to just commit energies to a specific place, but already evolving this Giratina VSTAR. They do have a Mirage Gate in hand, but I think the problem is they've already attached an energy for turn, so they can't attach the Jet Energy or anything like that, and just going to pass. Just going to pass with that Giratina VSTAR there on the bench, and we'll see if James Watcher can capitalize and try to boss up and KO this Giratina VSTAR. There's the double turbo energy attachment right there. You could just slam down all of those thingamadoodads, the power tablets, to be able to just power up and then draw more and more through your deck. Off of the Hisuian Heavy Ball, I actually don't know if you take anything off of this. I do agree with this decision by James, because what you're looking for right now is a boss's orders. So you can get rid of 3 cards in your hand, but if you kept the Mew V from your prizes in the Hisuian Heavy Ball, you can only draw 4 cards from Genesect instead of 5. So it'll be interesting to see. Choosing to only play 1 right now of the power tablets. It wouldn't surprise me if I saw a second one and going to be grabbing a Forest Sealstone. It'll be the second Forest Sealstone that he's got of this game on the board. Still hasn't used Star Alchemy yet, so if all else fails, doesn't find a switch card or a boss's orders, he will just be able to force Sealstone for one of those two pieces to be able to perform a strong combo. So I'm going to be drawing some cards. Interesting to hold the power tablet, but there's a boss's orders right there for him and a Cramomatic. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a Cramomatic away that, and it gets a heads right there. So there's that switch card that we were talking about, and going to be grabbing that Hard Gold Soul Silver version. Very, very good version of the switch, but I still think base set is the best one out of them all for that long time card. So going to be putting it in the hand. He's got 5 cards in the hand, so going to be able to switch, going to be able to boss. He's used that Genesec's ability, so good job trying to keep track. Oh, he's going to be bringing up the Giratina V. So that's another really interesting situation of this that, you know, a lot of people may not consider. And what I didn't bring up at first is the idea, instead of using all of your power tablets now, go ahead and use some power tablets to KO the mini Vs while they're on the bench. And so this is a very interesting game plan at this point of the game, because we know that, you know, with the double turbo energy, you are going less in terms of damage output, but just going to be able to draw 3 more cards off of Genesect, really just drawing through his old deck, getting 2 more power tablets and a boss's orders. So going to be hoping to get some sort of Ultra Ball again to get rid of some of these cards that he can't play, but just going to be KOing that Giratina and trying to use as little resources as possible to take the same amount of prizes. And I actually don't hate that play, even though Giratina VSTAR is hanging out right in your face. If you can just take away the Giratina Vs in this game, you can try to just take those out as quickly as possible for the same amount of prizes. You can starve your opponent, the Lostina opponent, to only have the one attacking Pokemon in play. And so then you can take a big knockout on the Giratina V-Star, and really all they have left is like Cramorants and Sableyes. So going to be using Super Rod now. I'm going to get that Giratina V back along with some Grass Energies. He's got 2 Colress Experiments in his hand, as well as this Mirage Gate. So going to be powering up now Giratina. I would think going to be putting a Psychic and Grass on him. Does have about 4 energies, I think, left in deck after that. Super Rod, a Psychic, 2 Waters, and a Grass. So going to be interesting to see how he plays out from here. Don't recall seeing a ton of Super Rods, although that is probably not the case. He's probably got at least 1 more Super Rod left in this one. So we'll see how it continues. Does have Sableye that he could eventually put down, but first he's going to Colress Experiment. Going to try to find what he can get to go to 9 in the Lost Zone. Very, very easy Colress Experiment. If you see 2 Battle VIP passes on a pass the first turn, you just put those away. It doesn't really matter what else you get in your hand. So this flower selecting is going to put him to 10 in the Lost Zone. Going to be able to Star Requiem away this first Mew VMAX, and we'll see how he does it. Has the ability, oh, interesting choice. Going to be putting away a Colress Experiment. So that's an interesting one to go down. I will say Colress Experiment kind of be in your bloodline of the deck, especially in the early game, but also can be really effective late game for just helping draw cards, finding pieces of the puzzle. So I think Isaiah is really thinking about just jet energying the Comfey into the active and using flower selecting, will be able to retreat. And Star Requiem only takes 2 energy compared to Lost Impact requiring 3. So I think you're relatively okay with not attaching it onto the Giratina VSTAR. Just waiting now for Giratina VSTAR next turn. Now, after putting the Giratina V down in play, it wouldn't surprise me for James to go big knockout on Giratina VSTAR and then use like Judge or some sort, try to get that to be able to really just nullify your opponent. And with 2 Forest Sealstones, I actually wouldn't really hate that idea. So Isaiah, seeing that James has already played 1 Judge, is I think preemptively putting some energies onto a Giratina V down on the bench to try to, prevent exactly what I was just explaining. James just taking the knockout and using Judge Path to prevent any more drawn to try to stall out Isaiah Bradner. So 2 energies now on the Giratina V. He's going to have to find a Psychic energy, though, to be able to use an attack in the future turns. And Isaiah is going to use Star Requiem to take that knockout and 3 big prizes, only needing to knock out 1 more Mew VMAX in this one. But we'll see exactly how it goes. James has a heck of a hand, has a huge hand. Can attach 1 more item or tool card. He's got 1 tool card left in play. Going to be playing 2 power tablets right there. Probably wants to attach the Forest Sealstone? Maybe not. Doesn't have any more tool cards at his disposal in his 12 card deck at this point. So James needs to be doing some attacking because he's about to run out of cards, I will say. So he's got a pretty good hand, though, all else considered. He's got like a Lost Vacuum to thin out his hand and be able to just like take away cards and be able to draw exactly what he needs. He's got another Forest Sealstone to attach. Got an Iono as well. You probably want to be knocking out the Giratina V, so I think you're okay with like a Iono path because Iono is only going to put them to 3 cards. It's actually more valuable than Judge right now, so could be interesting to see how he plays this one. He's also got, it also saves your boss's orders, and I still, well, I guess boss's orders, or I guess Path to the Peak, I mean, it shuts you down, so maybe he just values a little bit more of keeping his Genesects active to be able to boss in future turns rather than, shutting off a 1 Greninja, which I don't necessarily disagree with after thinking about it a little bit more. So we'll see how this continues. 4 cards for James, 3 cards for Isaiah. And drawing it now, gets another power tablet, definitely wanted that, is going to play it down. And power tablet's an extra 90 damage on a 230 attack for 320. Minus 20 is enough to get the KO on Giratina VSTAR with that Mew VMAX on the bench. So raw drawing another Genesect, exactly what you love to see. Also has Palpad in hand. I think Palpad is a very, very nice card to get in this one. And so drawing into 2 more cards, a double turbo energy and the Lost Vacuums, as well as some judges for next turn. So really, really good stuff by James, I feel like, in this position. I feel like he's in a pretty decent spot as the Mew VMAX player and just going to be knocking out that Giratina VSTAR. So 2 prizes left, all 4 power tablets used, so that's going to be the tricky part. Your Mew VMAX is only going to be able to do 210 damage with a double turbo energy. I almost would have loved to see, although I don't know exactly when you could have done this, I almost would have loved to see the Alyssa Sparkle accelerate energies on the Mew VMAX, so then you could boss up potentially a Giratina V and knock it out, but we'll see how it goes and how it continues. Isaiah, though, going to be using a Mirage Gate right away in the turn to put one on the Giratina, and that one being the Psychic Energy, and then another one on the Comfey, a Water Energy to retreat. James Washer still 8 cards in hand in this one. He's had a healthy hand every single time, and Isaiah has been starved, I feel like, more times than not in his hand in this game. So going to see how he can do it. There is Potown Store as well. Isaiah, though, I don't think really plays too many tool cards, so he's not super worried about that. Does have Pats of the Peak that he can bump, which will be really, really good, although Lost Vacuum is in James's hands, so that's a little tough. Another Colress experiment, I think has played 3 of them now, and all 4 of them have been used and or lost zoned in this game. He's well over 10, so I've stopped keeping track. You can just check it out on the Play Pokemon official stream overlay. I think he's going to be at like 14 now or something like that. He's going to be putting away a Battle VIP pass, and now he's thinking of the other card. He's got a couple different options in there. He was thinking about the Giratina V, but he's wondering if he needs to keep that guy and opts not to. Chooses a Comfey instead over the Giratina V. So, interesting spot that he's in now. We'll see exactly where he goes. The Mews, maybe I don't hate the Giratina V and putting that down, because if you put down the Giratina V, right, like I talked about earlier, all the power tablets have gone, unless you're worried about like a Silene or something like that. All the power tablets are gone, and you're not going to be able to be knocked out by a one-hit KO. Now, the problem with what's going on right now, though, for Isaiah, that some of you may have noticed and maybe even put in the comments of this video, is that the active Mew VMAX has a box of disasters. So, pinging, I believe, 8 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon, since that Mew is at full HP. This Giratina VSTAR is going to be in range for just one single slap of a Mew VMAX KO. So we'll see what Isaiah wants to do, and he might actually be thinking of just hitting raw the Mew VMAX with this attack, which I think would be really detrimental to his game plan, actually. I think he definitely, I mean, the math is the same regardless in terms of the oh, and he is not finding a Mew or a Giratina VSTAR, just going to be hitting into this Mew VMAX right there and going to be drawing into his next turn. Now, if you're wondering why the damage counters didn't go on, as I was talking about earlier from Box of Disasters, that's only if the Pokemon's at full HP and is knocked out from an attack. So, not getting the KO on the Mew VMAX either from the Giratina V or the Giratina V-Star means that what I was saying earlier about, the math and whatnot is just simply, like, not true. So, apologies for lying to you all on that one, but we continue on in this game that has gone on for a long time. 23 and a half minutes essentially left in this game, taking up over half of the time for just one game. These players have been playing decently fast in my opinion, but that's just the problem with this matchup in these two decks, is that your turns take so long because you could do so many things and you have to shuffle so many times and make so many decisions. It's insane. And James Washer getting a third Cramomatic heads in this one. Going to be looking to see what he gets. It looks like he's going to be picking up an Iono in this. Has a couple different options that he can do. The Mew VMAX in the active can't attack unless he switches, which I don't know if he does have an escape rope in his hand, which means he's going to be taking a one prize knockout on this, and he's going to be getting some draw with the Iono. So going to be nice. Iono is very cool in this one, choosing between Judge or Iono, and I think you play Iono because you did decide to look for it in terms of your Chromatic Head. Still has not used his Star Alchemy. That's another thing that's really crazy. Still has not used Star Alchemy to be able to find whatever card he wants. So going to be interesting to see if he plays that this game and what he grabs it for. But going to be resetting his Mew VMAX on attack. Wouldn't surprise me to see a couple different scenarios play out. And so just going to be shuffling up with the Iono. Well, because there wasn't a Comfey that came in, I don't... Well, what would you play per se? I think probably Radiant Greninja is fine to bring up because, you know, you're not going to be using his concealed cards anyways with Path to the Peak. And so now going to be using the Star Alchemy, as I mentioned earlier. Going to be looking for Mew VMAX, I would think. Trying to think about what exactly. And he's going to be grabbing Lost Vacuum. I think you probably want to grab the Mew VMAX because I think you want to attack with the fresh one this turn. So we'll see. I don't think you want to get rid of Path to the Peak 100% yet. I guess you could, but you've got a boss's order in hand as well, so you can just boss up a Comfey next turn. So I think this is a win or lose situation for both players. Just knocking out the Radiant Greninja, going to one prize left, and Isaiah Bradner, all he needs to do is just find a Giratina and a boss. That's exactly what his game plan needs to be. He's checked out his cards. He's checking out how many cards he has left, so I don't think he's got a winning game state yet. I think he's got about 15 cards or so, somewhere around there. He does have a Giratina VSTAR in hand, so we'll see if he decides to do that guy. And I think I would play down if I was him. That's one less piece that you need. And again, all you need is the boss's orders on that Mew VMAX to knock it out with the Lost Impact. So he's got that. He's got one of the two pieces that he needs. I think he's checking his discard and stuff for how many bosses he plays in this one. Doing the math a little bit. Come on, Isaiah. And looks like just counting up his deck once again. Something that you can do in the Pokemon trading card game. Count how many cards you have. Very, very good sometimes in doing the math. He does have a Pokegear in hand. So Pokegear going to be huge in finding this boss's orders. What I would do if I was him, and I think that's what he's doing, is just whittle down your hand as much as you possibly can before... Oh, and he had the counter catcher the whole time. I don't know if he I think he grabbed the counter catcher off the flower selecting, and that won him game one. Very, very strong because there's only 19 minutes left in this game. So very, very good job by Isaiah Bradner. It did not look good for a lot of it, but stayed within the game plan, just kept using Colress Experiment, and is up 1-0 now in Swiss round 5. And so now we're on to game 2 of this best of 3. Prizes are out. 2 Battle VIP Pass for James could be a little bit of trouble in terms of his prizes because he's already got 4 Pokemon, so maybe not actually. With no Battle VIP Pass, he just had 3 Pokemon to lay down. Absolutely insane hand. But Isaiah not having too difficult of prizes either. Nothing really stands out, and I think both players are going to be decently happy with their prizes. Now, the awkward thing for James in this hand, he's got 2 double turbo energies and a Cramomatic, but no items to be able to discard. So not as aggressive as a turn 1 as you wanted, starting out with 4 different energy cards in your hand. The offset to the good luck that you had with benching all those Pokemon at first. So Isaiah is going to be off to the races now, doing the first flower selecting, pitching a Psychic Energy in this one. He's got a raw Colress Experiment in his hand, think he's going to be using the Colress experiment first to look for Pokemon. Battle VIP Pass. Is he playing Battle VIP Pass? I actually don't know. Yeah, he is. We saw it first game. So just going to be looking for those because that is another Pokemon out. So you have a maximum amount of Pokemon outs that you can get in this one. Found a couple different energy cards and I think some switches as well. So going to be grabbing at least a Psychic, pitching a Iono, and switch card. So looked like Mirage Gate, Jet Energy, Double Turbo were his options. So going to be grabbing a Giratina. Well, actually, we don't know what he's going to be grabbing because he's doing his prize checking first as usual. Putting all the Pokemon and energy up in front just to get counts of them. And I'll skip ahead a little bit until what he gets. And he gets a Comfey to put down on the bench. Now, he does have that Jet Energy, so he is going to be able to get another Flower selecting in the game. And you know you're not attacking with Giratina this turn, so I don't think that's a super terrible plan, to be honest, especially if you find another out to a Pokemon like Battle VIP Pass or something like that, or even a, what's that Pokemon called? Cramorant. You can use that Jet Energy that you attach to that bench Comfey to retreat into that Pokemon to spit innocently for 110 damage if you would like, if you feel like that's the correct line of play for you right now. So going to be getting up to 4 in the Lost Zone. Man, Isaiah is really good at not letting us see what he's got. He's got some Pokegear. He's got Path to the Peak as well, a couple Psychic Energies and Grass Energies, and he's just going to be putting Path down and passing to his opponent. So saw that his opponent didn't have a ton going on, and so really looking to capitalize on that, but a Judge comes in, just a fresh set of cards for both players, but only 4 cards for Isaiah Bradner. James is fine getting 4 new cards because his 4 cards that he had were not that good in his hand. But Isaiah, maybe Isaiah's not actually too mad at getting 4 new cards because he didn't exactly have too much in his hand outside of the Pokegear and just the flower selecting movement. So I guess as Isaiah, you're not super mad about that. I guess it depends on what you draw. Like if you draw 4 basic energies, you're like, oh, I see how it is. So we'll see exactly how this goes. James has got Escape Rope, Cramomatic, Path to the Peak Iono. So I definitely think that you Cramomatic away probably your Escape Rope because you have nothing to use. I mean, you could actually just go in and use Psychic Leap and not do anything about it. Ooh, this actually is not a bad play in my opinion. Using Psychic Leap because with 2 Fusion Strike energies, you do 70. You do anemone. You do 70 damage onto the Comfey, which is enough to knock it out. So getting a knockout right there while keeping Paths of the Peak in play could prevent your opponent. I don't think you necessarily go super aggressive until you see a Giratina V. So interesting to see one prize gone, and then after the ads, we'll see how the rest of this match plays out. And we continue into this, the flower selecting. Looking to grab a Pokemon to put on this bench. They have a Battle VIP Pass, but that's not going to help them at this point in the game. Going to be finding Giratina V, which is nice, but only having 4 in the Lost Zone. Going to need to get a little bit more, and so I think what Isaiah is going to do is just Abyss Seeking. Benching down as Sableye. We did not see Sableye in Game 1, but Abyss Seeking, an attack to use for 1 energy. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put 2 of them in the Lost Zone, and put the other 2 in your hand. So basically like a Colress experiment almost, except it is your attack for turn, so it is debatably worse of an effect. So deciding what he wants to keep, getting rid of the Greninja, thinking that this Path to the Peak is going to stick for a little bit and the Pokemon is not needed. Top decking the Forest Seal Stone, so you'll love to see it if you're James. Getting another heads on the Cramomatic. How many heads is that? Is that 4 heads on Cramomatic? I think he's 100% hit rate on the Cramomatic. Does have a Forest Seal Stone to utilize if he wants to get rid of this Path to the Peak, does need to go into a Mew VMAX, but the Mew VMAX, I almost don't hate right here. Just grabbing the Mew VMAX and just smashing the Giratina VMAX for 320 damage. I don't think it's the worst play that you can do, but seeing that their opponent doesn't have Greninja anymore, Greninja hitting the Lost Zone, I also don't mind this right here, grabbing the Lost Vacuum to just get rid of the Path to the Peak. You know that your opponent really only utilizes Path to the Peak now at this point to just hit you with some stall stuff, so could be really, really good to just get your Genesects going. And even though you're only drawing 2, just get them to draw, because look at that. There's 2 new Pokemon right there. The 2 cards that you draw are 2 new Pokemon. Now getting 4 cards off of this Genesect. So got another Cramomatic there to potentially find another Mew VMAX, which would be very, very nice. And so finally hitting tails on that one. Has 4 cards left in his hand. Going to decide how he wants to do it. He could Lost Vacuum a Path to the Peak away an item card, but I don't know what you would get away at this point. I guess the Box of Disaster, because I don't think Star Requiem really helps the Box of Disaster be more effective. So I think you're good doing this. So not finding another Mew VMAX in this one, that's tough, I will say. So I think probably if I had to take a guess, so Iono is going to be a nice play right there. I guess you continuously just keep going until you are out of options. Then you find out what you can KO, because another option could have been, because you haven't, well, actually you don't need to play a Power Tablet. You just literally need the Mew VMAX. But I guess you're guaranteed Mew VMAX because you have the 4 Seal Stones. So pretty decent play, I feel like. The Lost Vacuum, really valuing that Lost Vacuum, thinking he's going to see another Path to the Peak potentially with this, and so using Ultra Ball now, grabbing the Mew VMAX, and thinking about, do I want to use 4 Sealstone now? Do I need to? And he is. I wonder what he's going to grab off of the Forest Sealstone. Another cool card that's in this is Featherball, and he's going to be grabbing the Power Tablet? Why is he grabbing the Power Tablet? For next turn? Maybe? He's played the Power Tablet and played the Mew VMAX. Memory serves me correct, but Genesect... Oh no, Genesect only does 210 damage, doesn't it? So the math does not work out. So did need a Power Tablet. So very good job by James. I can't read the card from here, and I don't have it in front of me. So very good job by him in making sure that Giratina was knocked out and up 3 prizes to none at this point. I think Isaiah is in a little bit of a tough spot right now because he doesn't have another Giratina V in play ready to evolve into the V-Star to keep up with the prize trade. So going to be a little tough on this one. Flower selecting away a Giratina V-Star. That doesn't feel good. But opting for another Comfey. I do think he has another Giratina V in hand. So going to be attach retreating and flower selecting. Going to be finding some Pokemon and potential outs to different cards. Looking at what he prized this game. Going to be getting rid of another Giratina V-Star. So maybe not even going with the Giratina V-Star game plan at all this game. Which would be very interesting since you gave it up already as a prize. So just less than 5 minutes left. If Isaiah wears a watch, he may know that there's not much time left. So maybe just trying to extend this game as much as possible to go up on the 1-0 win if James cannot win. Only putting single prize Pokemon out could be advantageous to his strategy to be able to do that. So we'll see exactly what he does in this one. Going to be grabbing a Nest Ball and playing it to grab another Comfey, and then shuffling up the deck once again. So looking around in this game plan, he again does have a Colress experiment, so he's going to hit 12 in the lost zone. Not necessarily a big deal to hit 12 in the lost zone since he's over 10, but Sableye still activated at this point, could be able to be used. There is Mirage Gate in the hand, so he's going to be thinking about what he wants to grab. He's got Chorus Experiment, a Switch, Mirage Gate, Path of the Peak, and Jet Energy to choose from. I almost want to keep the Mirage Gate, to be honest, as well, and I wouldn't have hated to see the Chorus Experiment, but I do think Path of the Peak is fine. It's just unfortunate that his opponent, James, has Lost Vacuum Battle VIP Pass. So, an excellent combo. But going to be using the Mirage Gate to eventually tack with the Sableye in this turn. Going to be shuffling up his deck in this one. 3 minutes left to go in the round. Isaiah looking pretty all right, I think, actually, with his chances. So, going to be using a switch card to go into this Comfey, use Flower Selecting, and going to be looking around to see what he can do. Battle VIP Pass, an easy option to put away. And just, I think, going to be passing into his opponent's turn with 2:30 left on the clock. Having abilities, he may be able to run out and be turn 0. If James is turn 0 without announcing an attack, or what I should say is if James is turn 0 in general, that's not going to be a good thing for him in his chances to force a tie in this one. Isaiah will walk away with a win. So playing down the power tablet and a judge right here. So judge making sure each player only has 4 cards left, doing the cuts. And so the config could be taken out this turn. Now, not seeing another double turbo energy to attach to that bench Mew VMAX, but opting instead of playing more cards just to draw more off of the Genesect, and so using another power tablet, the second one in the turn, really just playing cards at this point. I think to get rid of cards, already using his V-Star power for the turn, so Star Alchemy not used anymore, and there's some double turbos. Wish and you, or ask and you shall receive is what I should say. And so James is going to immediately go into this Mew VMAX into the active and take a knockout. So very good job by James. A minute left on the clock. I think this one might end in a tie. He now has 2 Mew VMAXs to cycle through. If he is turn 1, he will have another turn and can just take 2 baby 1 prize knockouts. So Isaiah's game plan in order to potentially force a tie, I think at this point, once turn 0 is called in the next 50 seconds, I think what he's got to do is he's just got to trap a Genesect in the active and hope it sticks for one of the 2 turns. And this is a terrible time to give me an advertisement, Twitch. What the heck? So Isaiah going in now with the Mirage Gate. Going to be attaching another energy to this Comfey just because, and just Comfey looking like Giratina VSTAR at this point right now with all this energy attached to it. So we'll see exactly how he decides to play it out. I do think it's probably for the pure purpose of retreating. So we'll see how this goes for him. Does have a Roxanne that could be really good in this game plan because James is at a couple cards left. But I think Boss's Orders is actually more important for what you're trying to do. So looking for that. He does find a Boss's Orders, but deciding not to grab it. Okay, so just deciding to counter catcher, and this is definitely a better play. Counter catcher Roxanne. Very strong. I didn't realize he had counter catcher in his hands, so definitely a better play than what I was saying about using the Boss's Orders. So makes a ton more sense as to why he did not grab it, because instead of just Boss's Ordering and only being able to do one thing, now you can do both things. So counter catcher just proving to be a really strong reprint in the latest Paradox Rift expansion, and we'll see exactly how this goes. James only getting 2 cards, but Isaiah needs to combo this with a path to the peak, because even though James only has 2 cards, he does get to draw a lot of cards in this. So Isaiah just walking around now, going to be using flower selecting, still hasn't done it yet in this game. So very interesting. Going to immediately be putting away a Battle VIP pass. Does have a path to the peak in the hand, so that could be very, very, very good, I will say. And what do you do now? Okay, looks like he's going into another Comfey, another flower selecting. Going to be putting away a switch. I don't even know what he grabbed, to be honest. Going to put down that path to the peak, and James is just going to have to work with his 2 cards unless he has a lost vacuum. He does play a lot of lost vacuums, though, in his list. I think he plays all 4 is what I saw. So Isaiah now, being turn 0, is going to have to hope that in one of the 2 turns that James plays, he doesn't have any switching outs. So that switching out immediately is looking grim for him, because there's a double turbo in the hand. Double turbo going to switch into that Mew VMAX, and it looks like he's just going to have to just hit with the Mew VMAX and go and KO. Now, what Isaiah is looking for, he's looking for either another counter catcher or a boss's orders in this one. James is going to be at a 4-card hand, so at the start of next turn. So I don't know if he plays another Roxanne. Another Roxanne would be great for this path to the peak, but he didn't do anything in the turn, so maybe you're actually not worried about the using a Roxanne. Maybe you just go in, you just Comfey, and you boss's orders, or is that another counter catcher in his hand? That might be a Roxanne, I think, actually, in his hand. So could, if he wanted to, do another Roxanne, but I think boss's orders is probably more of what you want to do if you're able, because the boss's orders, and looks like he is going to be having a pretty solid game plan. And this is very interesting. You may be wondering, well, why is he putting down 2 Giratina Vs? And the reason for this, with Giratina V, he's banking on James not being able to take a knockout. So if James were to play a escape rope, right, if he only had 1 Giratina V on the field, he would be able to take a knockout. But with escape rope, he can just switch between the Giratina Vs and more than likely prevent a knockout in this game. So James, I think James is at a point where he's not going to be able to take a knockout. Only has 4 cards, has 4 cards that he can't cycle through, get rid of the path to the peak to draw cards, and it looks like he's just going to say, you know what, Isaiah, you got this. We can't finish out this game. I can't force the tie, so you go ahead, you take this 1-0 victory. So very good job by Isaiah playing to his outs, especially within the time rules in that game, forcing an unconventional game plan to stop Giratina VSTAR in this Swiss round 5. Isaiah is going to move into 5-0, I believe. Was he 5-0? Yeah, he's 5-0 now at this point in this game, and especially for his opponent, Mr. Washer, still at 4-1, still a very respectable record at this point. Still a really good spot to potentially make day 2, so best of luck to both players as they continue on the tournament, even though this is in the future, and the results are already finalized. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you checking out this channel and this video. We'll do more of these commentary matches of the San Antonio Regional Championships, and let me know if you're interested in other commentary as well. I do have One Piece TCG stream matches on my channel that you can look through and listen to, and more in the future. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and I guess I'll see you in the next video. If not, I'll just keep making these, because this is truthfully like the spam channel.